Welcome to the Authentically Elisa Podcast, reshaping business with integrity. The podcast where we explore how to run your business authentically and with integrity. I'm your host, Elisa Bogarts, a business coach and launch manager, helping coaches launch their programs and events that align with their business values. Together, we'll uncover the secrets to building a successful business without sacrificing morals, ethics, authenticity, or heart. Let's dive in. So let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're going to be talking about getting focused and efficiency, which is one of my business values. I'm super excited to talk about this. I have my amazing guest, Jennifer Takagi, and she is a 12-minute success coach. Jennifer is, she's also certified high performance coach. She helps women discover the power of their purpose by tapping into their truths, honing their intuition, and trusting themselves so they can have clarity and confidence to create the next level of success that they desire. Utilizing multiple modalities, she helps women release the trapped emotions and imbalances that are holding them back from the life that they are destined to live. She also helps clients achieve their dreams by breaking them down into simple 12-minute increments. Along the way, she's trained over 10,000, written 6 best-selling books on Amazon, launched a podcast with over 2,400 unique downloads, which I'm actually on, people, so go listen to it. And it's been an amazing ride, and she just can't wait to see what is next. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome.
Hello. I just have to say 24,000, not 100 downloads.
Oh, did I say 100? I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it was a big deal, right? Everybody has their metrics that they measure. And somebody goes, oh, it doesn't matter how many downloads, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's the only thing I can track. So I'm happy with tracking it.
I should look at mine. I have absolutely no idea how to even find that number. 24,000. Wow, that is very amazing. So yeah, tell us about how you got into this field of work and just why you're so passionate about it.
Yes. So I always loved training and speaking. And my dad would always tease. I was tongue-tied as a kid, and he would say, man, you didn't speak for the first 2.5 years. We clipped your tongue and you never shut up, which is so true. I mean, yes, Dad, that was true. And it's still true. And I love training. And towards the end of my career with the federal government, I didn't know it was the end of my career. They sent me around the country training all over the place. And I got really good at it. And as soon as I got back to the office, they announced, oh, you just worked yourself out of a job. You can retire early, or you can resign, or you can relocate. And I was like, man, I am out the door.
Yeah, retirement, please.
I love training. I love that look on people's face when they're like, oh, I can do that, or oh, I can make that shift. So it was just an easy segue to go from training as just another duty as assigned for 30 years in corporate and government work in the housing industry to training leaders. And that's really what I got into. And along that way, I met Jack Canfield. And he's the founder of the Chicken Soup for the Souls books and also the Success Principles. And so I immediately had to get certified in Success Principles because there are things successful people do consistently that other people don't. And so that really kind of got me in this path of personal development and how to do training for other people so they can grow too. So it's been a super fun journey.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. I love that you just saw something. You're like, I have to get certified in that. I'm so interested in it. How can I help other people?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you've worked with like a lot of leaders and businesses. And so when we talk about, running a business authentically, what does that mean to you?
So I have been an entrepreneur for over 10 years now. And it was a hard segue from an employee who rarely got to work outside the box because I lived within rules and regulations to the world is my oyster kind of thing. Like it was like, wait, like how do I do that?
Yeah.
And a friend invited me to a Chamber of Commerce event. And when I left, I literally fell off the curb. Like it wasn't painted and I didn't realize it was a drop down. And I fell into this woman's arms, literally. And she was a business coach. And I was like, I don't know what that is. So I started following her, blah, 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 learned a lot, learned a lot. And she used to have these Sunday night CEO calls, and they were free. And it was how to build your business. And it was like, wow, like that's really cool. So that's how I became a best-selling author multiple times on Amazon, because one of her trainings was how to write a book. And so
Mhm.
like it kept growing from there. But when I finished my time with her, I met another coach and I started doing what she recommended. And then I met another coach and I did what they recommended. And before you know it, a whole lot of money spent trying to do this, that, and the other. And I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but nothing ever worked out either as they flat out promised or implied.
100%. Yeah.
And so it became that moment of truth where I had to say, what do I really want to do? How do I really want to show up in the world? How do I want to help people? And if you are following somebody else's process and you're doing what they say you're good at, but it doesn't necessarily feel good to you, or you don't enjoy it, or you're not getting the traction, you're not creating a business with integrity and with what you want to do. And it's very ironic that this is our conversation today, because I just got back from a Brendan Burchard event, and he was talking about like what that funnel would look like, because everybody talks about it, but nobody ever like nails it down. And it actually was nailed down. I left like, oh my gosh, this is the most wonderful thing ever. I can actually do this. And I was talking to a colleague that was at the same event, and I said, I have two paths. I don't know which way to go. I can focus on being a coach, or I can focus on energy healing, because I'm really good at both. And she was like, what do you like more? So we were on the phone like 2 hours last night,
Wow.
mapping that out. And it's like, this feels really great. Like I can incorporate both. This is how I'm going to do it. So people stay tuned. JenniferTakagi.com. You're going to be seeing all kinds of stuff coming out in the near future. But it
That's
can
awesome.
take a while. So, my big takeaway to share with everyone is most people who say they have overnight success, it took them years to get to the point where it was overnight.
Mm.
So, I've put in my reps all these years. And as soon as I get this funnel built, I believe it's going to be overnight success. But it was 10 years getting to the point that the overnight could happen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I love that. And it's like, yeah, what is authentically to me? Like, and actually both things are great. So how can I make something my own? And I totally agree with you that there's all these, we learn so much. And I also, kind of similar to you, I was in corporate and in project management. I was like, no, this is the project management process. Like you get certified by this, and these are the steps. And it was quite restricted. And actually I kind of work well in that. And I had the same experience where all of a sudden it was like the entrepreneur world. And it was like, what? Like the world is your oyster. And I've like lived life, the world is your oyster, like in terms of like traveling and doing what you want to do. But it wasn't in terms of work. I had that stability, I had that structure, I had that little box that I fit in, and I did really well there. And so all of a sudden entrepreneurship kind of like exploded into this thing. And and because of that, I also very much have like the good girl syndrome. Right. So it's like if I'm in a program and someone's like, these are the things you need to do. I'm like, okay, I'll do every single step that you tell me to do the exact same thing, because you were successful in it. And it can get, especially if you're like a newer coach, it can get so confusing because there's so many people and they all have their little niche and they all have the thing, and there's so many strategies, and you know what, they all work and everybody has had huge success in every single one of those 100 different strategies, but you can't learn them all and do them all. So you got to like figure out either what works from you. And so you can take little pieces. I think that's kind of what I've learned is like, okay, like I like this of this person, or I don't like how did they that, but I want to do this. And that's kind of why like started season 2 of this podcast with sort of that reshaping business to be more in integrity. Because sometimes you see something that somebody does and you're like, oh, like I don't like the way that they sold, or I feel I don't like the bro marketing, or I don't, like, and or you see things and you're like, oh, that was a little bit manipulative. And so you can watch and learn and see what you like and what you don't like. It's the same in life, right? Like I don't know how many of us probably look at our mothers and say, I don't want to be like that. Right? But you can take pieces of things and then see how they work for you and then create it yourself. And that's kind of where you can actually start to have that success. Yeah. And I love that you actually sat down with somebody for a couple of hours and was just like, how can this be a thing? These two seemingly entirely separate things that I'm really good at.
Yeah, and it was miraculous. I texted her first thing this morning. I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like I went to bed last night thinking, now I've got the tech question. Like, where's this going to live? How am I going to build it out? Like what? Like that's the question of the day today. Like that's my next step is where do I want it? How do I want it to look? And along these lines, Natalie Ellis is the owner of Boss Babe.
Mm.
And it's a 7-figure, it could be an 8-figure business. I'm not really sure. But she spoke at the event and she's spoken before and talked about her rise to fame and success. And I don't want to diss her. This is going to sound like I'm dissing her and I don't really mean to, but so just take it with grace, right? She would say, I did all these things, and I'm sitting in the audience thinking, I can't do any of that. Like, I don't know how to do any of that. So on this event, she was in Miami at Brennan Burchard's Ultra event, and she said, the word is simplicity.
Mm.
We try to do too many things because you and I are so similar, Elisa. We want to do what this coach told us, and we want to do what this coach told us, and we want to do what this coach told us. And if we put it all together, something's going to work. And my biggest takeaway from her was have one funnel, period, end of story. And you work, rework, and tweak that funnel until you have $1 million business. And do not
Love that.
stop. So you better find something you want, right? Because I have all these funnels, I have all these opt-ins, and it was like you need a free opt-in that leads to a low ticket thing, the whole client journey. And somebody asked me, well, what's your next step? And I was like, I got to create something new. And they were like, oh my God, Jennifer, you have so much. Why would you create something new? And I said, because nothing I have leads to the natural next step with simplicity.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so that's what ended up coming out of last night. And yeah, so I'm super excitable. And yes, I know that's not the right use of the word, but I like saying it.
It's a
I'm
great
so
word.
excitable about what's coming.
I'm excitable for you. It's such a great lesson, though, simplicity. And yeah, I feel like we can so get wrapped up and make things so complex and so confusing and so many have tos. And so, yeah, if we can just really kind of let go of that. And, people talk about this a lot, and I always hear it in meditation and things like that. But yeah, kind of like if we can let go of all that stress and all that pressure, that's where our creativity flows and that's where things come to us. And then we can have something, when we get that idea, then we have something we can focus on and then we can move forward with that. So I think that, yeah, I think that's a lesson we can also all take is kind of relax, let it be simple, let it flow to you and kind of see what happens and see where it goes. Um, there was something else that popped in my head as you were talking about that. Oh yeah, like because with me, with my clients, like we were talking about, there's all these different strategies and all these different things. And yes, like so I don't have necessarily like I know a launch process. So if someone doesn't know a launch process, of course I can take them through sort of like a standard one. But this is why I always customize things with all my clients because everybody's different. Everybody's got a different funnel. Some people have a lead magnet, some people don't have a lead magnet. Some people, want to do this with their launch, some people want to do that with their launch. And so it has to be really customized. And I love that I can just be like, people just come to me. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take you through a series of questions and we're going to plan this out, but we're going to completely make it yours because it's your launch. So we got to do what you want to do for your launch. And so I don't necessarily like promise that I know the process is going to make you millions, but I can take what you already know, get it structured, get it organized and get you to do it. so that you can launch and see if it works. And just like you were saying, have that funnel and then tweak it and adapt it, right? And there's always that, what you do always, I like to do after a launch is to do that kind of lessons learned, that post-mortem, and be like, okay, what went well, what didn't go so well, what can I do differently next time? And always iterating, always improving, always in tweaking. And I think you're right. It's really good to have that one funnel that you keep on tweaking and changing and not just reinventing the wheel every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so intrigued by your 12 minutes to success. So tell us about that and then kind of give us some tips.
I was at a conference and met Jack Canfield, Success Principles, in person.
Nice.
And he sold his online program because he has a vision to have, I don't know, maybe it's 1 million people certified in Success Principles training to get that out to the world. And so I was one of those people who, when they say, run to the back of the room, and I was like, I'm running to the back of the room. Like, I want this. And I got it, and I was so thrilled, and I just crushed it. Like, it was like, how fast can I get through this? Because I really want to do this. And I received a phone call from an association, and I knew the gal, so that made it even funner and easier. And this, I think, was in January one year. And she said, hey, we need a speaker for February. Can you speak? And I went, yes, as a matter of fact, I can. And it was in person. It's before COVID. And she said, great. Like, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, I want to speak on step 1 on the path to success. And she was like, okay, great. Like, that's good for everybody. So I start putting my talk together. And the first principle of like 170 principles or something, I'm going to have to look that up so I can actually say it correctly. But of all the principles, number 1 principle that Jack Canfield has that all successful people embody is take 100% responsibility for every aspect of your life.
Hmm.
And I thought, yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that. And then that smart aleck Jack Canfield says, if you're late to work or to an event or to meet somebody for dinner, then you're not taking 100% responsibility because you should have left earlier. You should plan for traffic. Like, you're not taking 100% responsibility. So now I'm convicted. Like, gosh, I thought I was really responsible, but apparently I'm not. I'm just a big old loser.
Aw.
But he takes it one step further and he goes, if 100% is too much, take 5% more. Like, don't beat yourself up. Don't be a loser. Don't call yourself a loser. Don't get into that negative thought, right? But take 5% more. And I am putting this talk together, and I've been to this location before, so I know what it looks like. So in my head, I have a clear picture on what this room looks like and where I'm going to be standing. And I'm thinking, how do I explain 5%?
Mm.
5% of what?
Yeah. What is that? Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. And does
I
it take
want
it
to
to
eat better.
105%? And what does that mean? What?
Yeah, I want to eat better. So I'm going to put 5% vegetables on my plate. Like, for me, that would be like earth-shattering big commitment, right? And it's like, what is 5%? So I became obsessed. What is 5%? And I decided I wanted to talk, like, since I'm taking personal accountability in my personal life, what could I take 5% more of?
Mm.
And as I'm, you tell your brain you want an answer and your subconscious is on hyperdrive trying to solve it.
It is, yeah.
And when I worked in corporate and government, I typically got off work and was home about 5 in the evening. And it's just me and my husband. We don't have kids. We have dogs and cats, but it's just the 2 of us. So by 6 o'clock, we had dinner figured out. We're going out. We're having leftovers. We're cooking, whatever it is. By 6 o'clock, we're set. I had from 6 to 10 in the evenings to do whatever I wanted.
Right.
I could do laundry. I could sort the mail. I could sit on my happy butt and watch TV. I could ride my exercise bike. I could go to water aerobics. I could talk on the phone. Like, I could do anything for 4 hours until I went to bed at 10. So 6 to 10 is 4 hours. I had to get a calculator out, but that's 240 minutes. 5% of 240 is 12 minutes.
Hmm.
So I have an exercise bike here in my office. And if I wanted to start getting in better shape, if I tell myself I'm going to go to the gym every day, I'm not going to do it. I don't have that level of commitment. So now I've told myself, you don't do what you say you're going to do. So
Mm.
why am I going to nudge you for the next thing? But if I get on that bike for 12 minutes every day for a year, that is 73 hours.
Wow.
Like, when was the last time I focused on one thing? Talk about focus for 73 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get through my mail. I love to stack up the mail in huge stacks on the kitchen counter. I hate doing that, but that's what I do. But if I just spend 12 minutes, I can throw all the junk mail away and then I have a little bitty stack that I can handle in the next 12. I've had people, when they've learned this, walked into their office was a disaster, and they picked one little corner and spent 12 minutes cleaning up that little corner. And at the time, the whole time going, that's stupid. That's not going to make that big a difference. But they walked out of their home office, shut the door. The next day, walked in and went, wow, that corner is perfect. I think I'll spend 12 more minutes and do the next little 3-foot section of the bookshelf or whatever. And so I have loved all the inventive ways people have been trying to incorporate, or not trying, people have successfully incorporated 12 minutes into their routine. One person was like, well, I need to start working out. Like, and they're challenging me. Come on, people, I'm going to win. Like, I've thought this through. And I was like, well, your first 12 minutes is getting your clothes together. If you're going to the gym, what are you going to wear? If you're going to go for a walk around the block, do you know where your tennis shoes are? Do you know where your favorite socks are? Because we know not all socks are created equal in a pair of tennis shoes. Do you have your stuff together? So, somebody that we both know and love is Kimberly Crow.
Hmm.
And she called me one day and she was on a video call. And I was like, where are you? And she goes, I didn't want to come to the gym, but I thought I'll do it for 12 minutes. And I got my clothes together and it took 12 minutes. And then I drove to the gym and you said I can't count the time it takes to drive to the gym. So I didn't. But I sat in the parking lot and I was like, I don't want to go in. I don't want to do this. And then I was like, you're here. Walk in the door and get on that Stairmaster for 12 minutes. And then you can just go home. Just do 12 minutes. And she goes, I just looked down and I'm at 17 minutes. I'm going to stay and finish out this 12 rotation. As it turns out, she did it for an hour. So
Wow.
sometimes it's just the getting started.
Yeah.
In business, you think, I need to record a podcast. Well, you've got to have the topic. You got to create the show notes. Mine always has 3 points to it, right? 3 points I want to make throughout my podcast, whether it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it is. Oh, it's going to take too long. Holy crap, Oli. If you put 12 minutes and say, I need to record 4 podcasts today because I'm going out of town and I want to get ahead of the curve. 12 minutes. You can come up with your 3 or 4 outlines. You can have it ready to go. Then you can get your glass of water, sit down, hit record, and just knock them out. We create in our heads, this is my experience 100%, and I'm going to bet it's yours too. We decide it's going to take a lot longer than it needs to.
Yeah.
So if we
You did.
say, I'm going to spend 12 minutes, somebody said, I want to write a book, Jennifer. So like if I set my 12 minutes aside that day and I don't have a thought, do I just stare at a blank screen? And I was like, no.
You're not going to stare at a blank screen because something will come to you.
Well, number one, something's going to come to you. Absolutely. Number two, a lot of people want to write a book. The people who are listening, if you're listening to this, you're an expert in your area, in your field of practice. And that's why you wanted to build a business around it. You want to write a book so you have the credibility and you can walk in and say, I'm a best-selling author and it's so much fun and it's so awesome. You've got a lot of things you could write about. Your first 12 minutes could be writing like bullet points of all the different things you could write about. Walk away. Come back, close your eyes, look at the list, and the first 3 that pop out, circle. Great. Those are three possibilities. Now I'm going to jot down, again, bullet points, some stories to support that topic. Right? So every time you sit down, you're adding another layer, another layer. Again, when was the last time you spent 73 hours focused on one thing?
No idea.
Other than watching Netflix, I win on that. But yeah, so that's like how you incorporate it.
I love
And
that.
one lady, I didn't even know her, but she heard me speak on a summit or something. And then I met her online and she said, "Oh my gosh, Jennifer, I hate reading. And I really hate reading business books. But I keep hearing that the most successful entrepreneurs, they read books and they implement, or they get encouragement or inspiration, motivation, whatever, positive word you want to come up with." And I hated it. Like I hated sit down and reading. And I decided I was going to read for 12 minutes a day. And I set my timer and I read for 12 minutes and then I stop. And I have gotten through my first business book ever, and I feel so accomplished.
That's awesome. I might take that one because I also I have so many books and some of them I've cracked and read a few chapters and then just left or not even opened at all.
We create overwhelm, right? We create
Hmm.
create overwhelm. That book. So I read every single Game of Thrones book, and I have an immense amount of resentment that the author never came back and wrote the final book. They made it in the series, but the book was never written. Those were 1,200-page books.
Whoa.
And somebody was like, "How did you do that?" And it was like, I was traveling a lot that year. Airports, airplanes. I read a lot because I really didn't have anything else to do. But you want to get through that 1,200-page book. I'm a slow reader. I read a lot, but I read at the pace that I talk. So it's not like I have a sister. Well, I have two sisters, but I have one sister. That gal, she is a speed reader. She
Hmm.
can get through a book so fast. And I'm like, I'm on chapter two. But if you stick with it in 12-minute increments, you're going to get through it.
100%. I absolutely love that. And I think that the 12-minute thing, we're talking about focus and efficiency. Like that's it, because you're focused on this thing and it's 12 minutes. So you're going to be like, okay, what can I get done right now? And then that will actually make you more efficient. It'll help you really get focused and to eventually complete something.
Well, and Frank King is our friend who is like he holds the record for the most TEDx talks. I think he's at 13 or 14 possibly. Amazing man, comedian, great speaker, and he's so cute. He says, "I got an egg timer." And I have several different areas of my life that I need to address in a day. And he and his wife have multiple cats and dogs. And he's like, one thing is I have to feed all the animals. So I made that on my list. And I need to do this. And I put it on my list. And I needed to send emails or write emails. So he had a list of like 6 or 8 things that he does on a regular basis. So he sat down, set his egg timer, which I think is cute that he calls it an egg timer. He set his egg timer for 12 minutes and did the first thing on the list for 12 minutes. The timer went off. He moved to the next thing for 12 minutes. And then when he got through all his lists, he started back at the beginning. And I'm not going to dispute all of the research out there that says, focus for 45 minutes or an hour, because if you go away and come back, it takes longer to get in the mode. Like
Context
I'm
switching.
I'm not
Yeah.
taking those people on at all. But what I'm saying is for me, 45 minutes can be too long and I can daydream a lot in 45 minutes. But if I have 12, I'm going to crush it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. 12, you can entirely focus is so true.
Yeah.
Wow. So this has just been so awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, there's so much I'm taking away, but yeah, first of all, it's like that whole take all the things that you learn and think about what you really want for your business, what you're great at, what you love doing, the things that if you do, the 12 minutes flies by and you almost want to keep doing it, or even the hours fly by. and make that like the essence of your business. And then you'll really be doing it from a place of integrity and authenticity. And if that seems like too big of a daunting task, spend your first 12 minutes doing it. Look at things in little 12-minute chunks and really get you focused. All those things that you might be procrastinating on or just seem too big or that you really want to do, but it's just like, how do I even get started? Like the amazing example of writing a book. Just start with 12 minutes. What's that first step? And spend 12 minutes on it. And then see when the next step is and maybe do that later that day or a different day or what have you. Yeah, thank you so much. So where can our listeners find you online?
Right, at jennifertakagi.com, and Takagi is Takagi. And my podcast is Destined for Success. So I have over 300 episodes out there. So you can probably find something that would be beneficial in there.
Including me in there.
Huh? Yeah, Elisa's in there. Yeah. You need to put that in the show notes, the link to your episode.
Yes.
And I have a free gift for the audience.
Tell us about that.
My free gift is an audio series because you're listening to a podcast. Obviously, you like listening to things. And it's an audio series called 12 Minutes to Success. And it's based on my WIN methodology. And the first episode is on wire your brain. Our brains are easily wired for negativity. So let's just switch it around and wire it for positivity. The next one is imagination. As kids, we imagined all the time. As adults, we kind of quit dreaming and imagining. And this is to like spur you on to imagine the day of your dreams. You are a business owner. You are a CEO. You are an entrepreneur. You're growing your business. What do you want it to look like? What do you want your perfect day to be? And then the N is next steps. Like, how do you break it down into small 12-minute increments? You want to write that book and you've got 12 stories you think you might want to share? Spend 12 minutes and write out the first story. You can flesh it out later, but get the whole story down. As you get those stories together, you can just weave them together and voila, you have a book.
Voila. Just like that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with all the listeners. And to finish us off, what do you have any final words of wisdom?
My podcast is called Destined for Success because I believe we are all destined for more success than we've ever envisioned. And my hope for you is that you would start stepping into and living into the destiny that is yours.
Mic drop. Thank you. And thank you for that little bit of inspiration at the end there. Yes. Let's all have success and step into our destiny. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here. It's so wonderful talking to you. And I just love that we have this amazing friendship and we've even traveled together. And I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It was my honor to be here.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa signing off authentically.